Alright, so Pulchra is finally going to be a playable character in Zenless Zone Zero, and we're also going to be getting her for free from one of the events during 1.6. She has a pretty interesting kit for a stun character, and since she is going to be free, today I want to go over her full kit to see whether or not you should be building her and if you should be putting resources into her. So going into her kit here, she is a physical stun character, and she also does take advantage of the new aftershock mechanic that has been introduced in 1.6. So starting out here with her core passive, whenever Pulchra uses her EX special, her assist follow-up, chain attack, or ultimate, she's going to enter the Hunter's Gate state. This state's going to give her a 30% daze increase, and the state itself lasts for 6 seconds. But if Pulchra switches out of the field during the Hunter's Gate state, the state will actually last permanently until Pulchra swaps back in. So she does generally want to be off field. And if Pulchra is the active character while Hunter's Gate is active, if you use her heavy basic attack, it's going to trigger a quick assist, which is going to be pretty cool to get other characters back in, since Pulchra actually doesn't want to have too much on field time. Then for her additional ability, the condition to activate it is to have either an attack ally or a Sons of Caledon ally on the team. And for Pulchra, it is going to be pretty straightforward to get that done, since with her being a stun character, you are going to have a DPS on there, so just run her with any attack DPS who wants a good amount of on-field time. Then when Pulchra uses her special attack with the Hunter's Gate active, her EX special, her assist follow-up, chain attack, or ultimate, it's going to apply the Binding Trap effect on enemies for 15 seconds. And while Binding Trap is activated, all of these enemies will take 30% more aftershock damage from any of your allies. So if you're running her with Silver Soldier Ambi, for example, then she'll also get that extra aftershock damage increase, which is very good. Next up, Pulchra's basic attack and the heavy basic as well, they both are pretty straightforward. Really the only thing to note is the mechanic of the heavy attack being able to trigger that quick assist from the core passive. But other than that, it's just like a standard kind of attack. Next up, we have Pulchra's special, which her special attack is actually pretty unique because a lot of characters, they want to go for their EX special, but Pulchra really only needs her special in a lot of situations. And she has two different types of specials depending on whether or not Hunter's Gate is active. If it's not active, it's just going to be a basic, kind of special attack where it's just going to deal some damage, and that's the end of that. But if you use her Rending Claw Nightmare Shadow special, which we'll just shorten to Nightmare Shadow, this is actually one that you don't have to use with her on the field. It actually will only activate upon an ally hitting an enemy with either a heavy attack, a special attack, or an EX special while that ally is active. And by doing this, you're going to trigger aftershock damage from Pulchra as well. And if another active character will damage an enemy at all after this attack, Pulchra can deal additional attacks again up to 5 times. And if you do all these extra attacks here, she will also end with a finisher that will deal increased daze to that enemy. So Pulchra is very much going to be a low field time stun character in the fact that you want to get Hunter's Gate active and then you want to switch out and take advantage of the aftershock damage from Nightmare Shadow. So then for her EX special, outside of the core passive's ability to allow Pulchra to enter the Hunter's Gate state with the EX special, there aren't actually any other mechanics to using the EX special here. So really, you just want to use it to keep her rotations good, to make sure you are getting into Hunter's Gate, swapping out to your DPS so you can get the benefits of Nightmare Shadow. But besides that, there isn't anything too noteworthy for this EX special here. Then I also want to touch on her assist follow-up because this is another way of activating Hunter's Gate as well. So it is a good thing to know so that you can have the Hunter's Gate stayed up as much as possible. Then lastly, for her core kit, her chain attack and ultimate are very straightforward and have very minimal mechanics to them outside of the core passive. So you really won't have to worry about them too much, but if they're there, you use them. Now let's talk about Pulchra's Mindscapes, especially with her being an A rank character. These are going to be not too hard to get, especially if you are pulling for either Silver Ambi or the Bernice rerun. So Pulchra's M1 is going to give her a 10% crit rate increase when damaging enemies with the Binding Trap state from her additional ability. At M2, Whenever the Hunter's Gate state is active via the effects from her core passive, she gets a 10% attack boost for some more damage. At M4, her EX special's energy cost is reduced by 5, making it a 55 cost as opposed to 60, which is nice for just getting the Hunter's Gate active a bit more frequently. And then for her M6, we get some buffs for the Nightmare Shadow special. It's going to get a 15% damage increase, and the repeated attacks maximum goes up from 5 to 7, making it do a bit more damage. You're going to get a bit more stun as well. And the damage bonus from the Binding Trap to Aftershock damage is going to apply to all damage types now with M6. So she does get a pretty nice buff for the entire team as well, which is going to make her pretty good to have at M6. So now that we talked about all of her kit, let's talk about if she really is worth building. I'm not going to say should you pull because everyone's going to be able to get her for free. So let's talk about it from an investment standpoint here. So I think all in all, she is going to be a pretty solid character, and also I think relatively easy to play because all you have to really do is activate Hunter's Gate, swap out to your DPS, activate the Nightmare Shadow skill or the special, and then just get all the hits from that in. Then you'll swap back into her and repeat the process. Her kit is pretty solid for an A rank character, I think, even at M0, but all of her Mindscapes are some pretty solid improvements for her kit. So I do think that if you can get dupes from her, whether it be from the banners upcoming or if she is featured on a future banner as well, I think that can be really good if you're going to use her, especially that M6. I think the M6 is probably going to be the most noticeable buff for her because of the damage bonus, that 30% damage bonus from the additional ability being applied to any kind of damage. So you're just getting a nice boost for whatever DPS you're using with her. And on the topic of that, for DPSs to partner her with, she does have obvious synergy with Silver Anby because of the Aftershock, but I think that Pulchra will be able to work similarly to how Trigger is with any kind of on-field DPS character. As long as they do want to spend a lot of time on field, Pulchra can be a pretty solid character to pair up with them. Now, when it comes to burst DPS characters, kind of like Zuyuan, Haramasa, they're not going to have as much synergy there because they themselves don't need that much field time. So, all in all, I think Pulchra is going to be pretty solid as well, and also a decent substitute as well for people who may not want to pull Trigger, because we do have some pretty cool characters coming out for 1.7. I know a lot of people are excited about Vivian and Hugo, so it is good to have Pulchra as a kind of 4-star option there, or A rank option there. So let me know what you all think in the comments down below about Pulchra. I will probably try to build her up, see how she can perform. But yeah, let me know what you all think. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed and want to see more content from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But with that, everyone, I will see you all next time.